My name is Michael Anthony Karnacki. I'm a bootmaker in Sebastopol, California. I'm a sole proprietor. I've been in business on Main Street for 17 years. I was offered a credit card by U.S. Bank after many offers that were sent to me in the mail, and I accepted one. I paid them absolutely perfect without any failure up until the point where the economy started to crash. Once the economy crashed, my income and my business revenue basically dried up. I was unable to meet my obligations of paying them, and after missing one payment, they jacked my interest rate and attached fees and doubled the amount of the minimum payment, and it made it absolutely impossible for me to maintain my good standing with the bank. So then after many months of negotiations with U.S. Bank on trying to negotiate an arrangement that would satisfy my loan with them, those negotiations completely broke down and failed, and U.S. Bank chose to file a lawsuit against me. The original lawsuit was filed on July 31st, 2009. I answered. I subsequently amended my cross-complaint. I've tried to move it to federal court. I have been fighting tooth and nail by myself against the sixth largest bank in the United States in an effort to stand up and claim my usurious protection as an American citizen. So I started studying the law, and I found that there are two laws that govern what a bank can charge. One, the federal law. The federal law is in Title 12 U.S.C., which says that the bank can charge the amount of interest that is allowable by the laws of the state in which the bank is located. U.S. Bank is located in North Dakota. So then I picked up the North Dakota law book that governed the amount of interest that national banks can charge. And what I found was it sets a very specific limit, but U.S. Bank is exempted from this book. This book does not apply to U.S. Bank. So at that point I got to thinking, well, neither one of these two books, according to U.S. Bank, applies to them. They don't have to be bound by the usurious limit in this book, and they're not bound by the usurious limit in this book. So then I found another book. It's called the RICO Act, which was enacted to go after racketeering and loan sharking by organized criminals. So the RICO Act says that a debt becomes an unlawful debt when it is more than twice the enforceable rate of state or federal law. Both the state of North Dakota and the federal law, with regard to the amount that is usurious, is set at 7%. In my case, what that means is that the most that U.S. Bank could have charged to me on my credit card was 14%. And since they charged me 17.5% throughout the history of the credit card on an average, they're in violation of the RICO Act, which means that they are basically operating illegally as would be considered, what would normally be considered loan sharking by organized criminals. So if you have a credit card, how much are you being charged? Is it usurious? Most likely. Is it in violation of the RICO Act? Most likely. Would we throw John Gotti and Al Capone in jail for charging the same amount of interest? Yes, absolutely. Ben, as American citizens, are we protected from usury? Do we have any protection that protects us from the kind of interest rates that we are being charged on our credit cards? Considering the fact that the banks are now borrowing money at less than 0.25%, and they're loaning it back out as upwards of 29%. That, by all standards, is loan sharking. We are set for trial by jury on April 15th of 2011, which will be, at that point, nearly 2 years into the proceedings, which is incredible. Incredible. It's been incredibly taxing on me, but I feel like I have to take a stand here for what is just. And not only am I standing on behalf of myself, demanding that I have usurious protection, but I'm standing on behalf of every other citizen who is being charged usurious interest by these banks. And I'm asking that the court order that U.S. Bank, if they are found to be guilty of usurious lending, that they go back 4 years and collect all of that usurious interest that was collected from U.S. Bank, put it into a fund by which anybody that's been charged usurious interest can put in a claim and get back that usurious interest that was charged to them. In my latest amended complaint, I received an offer by U.S. Bank to settle. And I can only say that the offer was very generous, but I turned them down because part of their offer was that I needed to shut my mouth. Had I taken the offer, that U.S. Bank would simply immediately go into the legislative body in North Dakota and enact a law that will protect them. And therefore, they would continue their usurious lending and there would be no justice brought forth. I am an American citizen, and so are the rest of you. We're all being subjected to usurious lending through these credit cards. And it's time that we stand up and say, absolutely not. We need to all come together and demand usurious protection, and that these ways of these bankers needs to stop and the laws need to be implemented and enforced, because the laws are on the books, but they're being skirted around and threaded through different needles and loopholes, and the banks claim that they have no regulations with regard to how much interest they can charge. And I'm saying, and with your help, we are saying that, oh yes, there are limits to how much you can charge us in interest. Period.